everybody, happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are safe and you are with someone you care about who also cares about you. So, we are coming to the end of May, and I've tried to keep all of the Sunday musings in May quite kind of fluffy and wonderful. The day I'm publishing this, it's actually June 1st. So I'm afraid all of that is out of the window. And even though I'm recording this in May and it's going to go out to Patreon supporters like at the very end of May, I'm afraid we're back into more serious stuff for June. And so I want to talk a little bit about some of the terrible stuff that's been happening to EVs and the progress of EVs in the last couple of weeks. Now, I've tried really hard to keep all of the news and discussion of it as lighthearted as possible. I know that when we did the video talking about incentives and we had the fluffy animal interstitials, some people didn't like them, and that's totally okay. I wasn't trying to make light of the situation, but I also was trying not to be kind of the drama llama and discuss things both on my own sanity but also everyone else's in a way that made it a little bit lighthearted but not like taking the mickey, if that makes sense. But look, the federal budget, the US federal budget, the one big beautiful bill is looking like it's going to pass. The week I'm filming this, we've seen tariffs deemed unconstitutional, and then the appeals court has brought them back in less than 24 hours. It's been very difficult and stressful to keep up with it all, and I keep seeing reports that state that EV consumer sentiment is souring on EVs primarily because of its association with Elon Musk. A lot of people don't realize that there are other models out there that aren't Teslas, and we might look at that in our little bubble in the EV world and go, don't be silly. Of course, everyone knows there are other models other than Teslas. But I regularly speak to people who are rideshare drivers, and they regularly encounter people who assume that if it's an EV, it is a Tesla when it's most certainly not. All of that has led to kind of a souring on EVs. Combine that with the current administration's push to blame EVs for things and to blame green ideas as being woke and anti-American. And we're now seeing automakers taking advantage of that. So automakers who are like, no, we're seriously into EVs, are now starting to seemingly back out. You know, GM this week announced $888 million for a new revision to one of its facilities to produce the next generation of V8 engines, because of course. And I don't swear in these, otherwise I would be swearing very much right now. And I think every automaker is guilty of emissions, and every automaker is guilty of doing dumb stuff that they shouldn't, and they need to be held responsible for. But you know, even Tesla isn't out of that particular field, especially when you consider the emissions of Elon Musk and SpaceX and all of that stuff. We all are guilty, and we all need to push automakers and companies and billionaires and governments and politicians to be better. But my question to you today is, are EVs too big to fail? Both in the US, but also around the world. Because, you know, at the same time of all of this happening, and generally the right, although increasingly more liberal-leaning papers and outlets claiming that EVs are dying when the data says that they're not, people are buying EVs. They are still buying EVs. The rate of growth of EV adoption is slowing, but people are still buying more EVs now than they have at any point in the past. And you know, in China, we're seeing EV sales at very high numbers. We're seeing EV sales take off in Europe and in other parts of the world. And I wonder if we are at a point where there are just so many EVs that it would be almost ridiculous to expect them to just go poof overnight and for suddenly us all to have to go back to driving gasoline or diesel or walking or taking the train. That would be nice. I would happily give up my EV if we had a good public transit system here in the US. especially as I grew up in a carless family. Many people don't know that, but I grew up in a carless family. So like, until I was, I didn't learn to drive until I was in my 20s, right? So before that, I cycled everywhere, or I got the train, or I cycled to a train station and then got the train. And I would love to return to that. It was a much, in a lot of ways, a much calmer way of existing, because I didn't have to worry about traffic. I just had to worry about getting to the train station on time and hoping my train had not been cancelled. But I am starting to wonder if EVs are now being targeted to a point where there are parts of our world that want them to fail, and that will do everything they possibly can to take advantage of bad publicity or negative outcomes. I don't want to sound conspiracy theory-ish, but I'm feeling the pressure, and I know that some of you are too. But I also think that EVs are just simply too big to fail right now. When you talk about EVs in the late 90s and early 2000s, right? The EV1, the RAV4 EV, there were cars that were being made and sold or leased in California and select markets. That's not what we're seeing today. I think I probably know people in every one of the US states who owns and drives an EV on the regular, including people who live out in the middle of nowhere. I know people who live out in the middle of a very large Canadian province who drive EVs and make it work because they want a better future for themselves and their loved ones, or they just enjoy driving an EV. And when people are that invested in a particular societal change, it feels like that, to coin a phrase that I'm not particularly fond of, that the genie is not going to go back into the bottle. And I can't see a future where EVs are just going to vanish. I don't know if it's because I refuse to see that future, or if it's because that future is honestly not possible because of how big EVs have gotten. Now, we may see a point in the future where automakers refuse to make new EVs, or the government incentivizes them not to. In the US, for example, there's this new provision in the One Big Beautiful Bill that talks about a tax credit. If you buy a car that was made in the US, you can claim the interest from your loan, which benefits banks, and it incentivizes banks to charge higher interest rates, right? Because if you can claim the interest rates off on your taxes, you're effectively getting a 0% loan. But it also incentivizes people to buy bigger, more expensive vehicles, because they don't have to worry about the interest. And the interest can be, pretty large. And I did skim the bill. I didn't see any mention of like an upper limit. So, I mean, the sky literally is your limit. And we know what's happened in the past. We know that the US government has, for example, encouraged people to buy massive Hummers for their business because it's a capital expenditure or a deduction, when perhaps a little fuel-efficient hatchback wouldn't be. So I think there is going to be an uphill struggle. But I genuinely think that EVs are too big to go back in the closet. But I would love to know if I'm just seeing the world through rose-tinted glasses. Am I being overly optimistic? Does my future include me owning EVs until the day I die? Am I going to be able to drive my Chevrolet Bolt EV and my F-150 Lightning and my little Vectrex VX1 for the next 20 years and still be able to get, batteries to replace the batteries as they age? Sorry, I just pulled my microphone cable out. A little breaking the magic there. But I would love to know. Leave your thoughts in the down below, and I will see you this time next week. Thanks for joining us today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them in our Discord chat room, on our Patreon page down below, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon or Blue Sky. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They're part of the massive community of supporters who make this channel possible, helping us through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and helping us to remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. We've got options available across a wide range of different price points, starting from $1.50 US a month. A massive welcome to our newest supporters: Roshilu, Lynn, Mogren, Yalafli, Abigail, Jason Hellman, Mike, Rastas, Jay, Jim Boyer, Trebor, Steffel HB, Calvin Kleem, Albedardo Conessa, John Snyder, Scott Matheson, Mia Hartman, Philip Paul, Randolph Lee, Simon Cotell, Stephen Meadows, BGB Thauben, Kristen Ramison, James Hollyroad, Robin Holston, MK Duffer, S.A. Gimpson, Chip Chandler, Jeff Harrop, Nye Mister, Robert Betancourt, Jason Broder, Byron Newton, and Mark. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your moment of fame, and you can even gift membership to someone else. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll also find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at for the time being, address listed below. You'll also find links to our swag store, and if you are someone who has to shop on Amazon, please consider using our affiliate link so we get the commission, not Jeff Bezos. So we can continue to focus on making our content even better and reduce burnout. We're a little freer with our release days this year, but plan on dropping new content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday on the main channel, plus something on Sunday over on Transport Evolved Take 2. If you want more, the algorithm that hates us thinks you should be watching this video, but this one is one we think you should check out. Be awesome, be kind, be intentional, and don't forget to resist. Keep evolving!